Kelly Lang, John Deere, News Corps LA, Fred Rogan, Kevin O'Connell, David Horowitz, Doug Kriegel, Carol Hutchison. This is News Corps LA at 6.
Here's a question that's going to be of interest to you if you drive a diesel automobile, and there are a lot of them around. Should the sale of diesel automobiles be banned in Los Angeles? Would that really help clean up the air? David Horowitz is going to examine that very controversial question in tonight's close-up report, and it certainly is controversial.
And Kelly, we all remember back when gasoline was scarce and diesel fuel was really cheap. Americans rushed to buy any kind of car they could with a diesel engine in it. Environmental agencies became alarmed at the amount of smoke and exhaust all those new diesel cars were pouring into the atmosphere. Some suggested that the sale of diesel passenger cars should be limited or maybe banned altogether. Since then, the price of diesel fuel has risen dramatically, and the demand for diesel cars has leveled off at around 5% of new car sales. But calls to ban the dirty diesel are still being heard. Diesel engines are noisy and smoky, and on a smoggy day, it's easy to blame them for all the junk we see in our air. But diesel cars are actually lower in hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide emissions than a conventional gasoline engine. Even so, diesel engines contribute more than their share of the visible pollution in the environment.
When compared to a gasoline-powered car, they can put into the air 70 times more particulates, and these are at the very low breathable level. People complain about those. You know that the diesel today is a major obvious source of pollution. It should come under control. It may be that this basin is so sensitive that there is no room at all for diesel cars in this basin.
But in fact, the Air Quality Management District hasn't the legal authority to ban the diesel. Motor vehicle pollution comes under the authority of the State Air Resources Board, and the ARB bitterly resents any charge that it is shirking its responsibility regarding diesel emissions. The State Air Resources Board has already set diesel pollution standards which the board says should reduce particulate emissions by 70%, possibly as high as 90% by 1988. Still, critics like Jim Birakos say we're not moving quickly enough to meet the diesel threat.
Why can't we involve the diesels now in a smog check program? Secondly, why can't the manufacturers be forced to bring about a better control technology for the diesels? Why can't we look at other things coming down the line in fuels for diesels, cleaner fuels, fuels that can reduce emissions by 30, 40%? All of these are options, but they only remain options if they're left on the table. We want to start forcing the issue.
Spokesman Bill Sessa of the Air Resources Board told me that neither Jim Birakos nor the AQMD has any responsibility for setting vehicle emission standards or for initiating new vehicle emission controls. Sessa said the ARB is already forcing new cleanup technology on the automakers by mandating emission standards that are a full year ahead of the federal government's. Particulate emissions must be cut by a third next year and another third the year after that, until by the end of this decade, diesel cars will be putting out only 1/10 of the soot and pollution they now produce. The ARB says that makes a lot more sense than banning the sale of new diesel cars outright. Nor does the board feel that diesel should be forced into the smog check program immediately today, before any technology even exists to make them meet the same standards gasoline cars do. Of course, government can force technology through regulation, as it did with the catalytic converter, and it's happening again with the diesel engine. A spokesman for Volkswagen of America said its new diesel cars will meet every new emission standard set by the state and may even exceed them. Later, as those new carbon traps and emission filters are developed and improved, that technology can be applied to the real smoke monsters, to the trucks and buses, to locomotives and heavy earth-moving equipment. Then we'll really be making some progress in cleaning up the air and not making a scapegoat out of diesel automobiles. John?
Okay, David, thank you very much.